that in a minute, okay?
Thank you. Are you going to record the last?
Okay. Can I have re-record just a second?
Good evening. I'm Matthew Cropp, and we're coming to you live from VCAM Studios in Burlington, Vermont on November 13th, 2011. And this evening we're going to be devoting the show to a full overview of both the Occupy Wall Street movement, as well as its sort of manifestations and all of the things that have been happening in the Burlington area for the past few weeks. I'm fortunate to have with me at the show Tyler Westbrook. He's been extremely involved in Occupy since very early on, taking a lot of video footage, documenting all of the General Assemblies, and generally being heavily involved. In fact, it looks like he's videotaping me right now.
Can't help myself.
So for the show, we're going to be showing some of the video that Tyler has shot, but we're also going to be discussing kind of a chronology of the emergence of the Occupy movement, which has, in the last few weeks, really taken center stage in kind of the Vermont scene and really sort of been shaking things up. So, Tyler, do you want to give a little start, help summarize kind of the origins of the Occupy Wall Street movement?
Sure. The Occupy movement, Occupy Wall Street movement, as I understood it, was many people from many walks of life that share concerns about what's happening to our country, what's happening to our democracy, and the economic state of affairs in this country, that took it upon themselves to do more than write another letter to your politician or various newspaper, but to actually gather and come together and bring their concerns, of which is a broad variety, together to an environment to where they could begin to discuss with each other what those concerns are and to be able to organize and be able to address them. Now, you think we should get into the discussion of how it started here in Vermont?
Yeah. So September 17th was D-Day, so to speak, for the Occupy Wall Street movement. But then in Vermont, very quickly, we started to get people together, and a few weeks in was the first rally in Burlington, kind of a Burlington solidarity rally for Occupy Wall Street. Maybe 15 or 20 people got together. They marched down Church Street. We had a small kind of basically meeting to talk about next steps. It was on a Sunday, and they decided the next Sunday to do the same thing. That following Sunday, about maybe 150 people showed up. Decided to do the same thing next Sunday. Next Sunday, like 300 people showed up. And at that point, there was talk of, things started to become a little bit more formalized. It was march at 12:30 on Sunday, and then a general assembly at at 2. And as someone who's filmed a lot of General Assemblies, Tyler, do you want to go into a little bit about what the General Assembly is?
Sure, I'd love to. In the beginning, as Matt was saying, we were having almost a General Assembly to where all of the people who were concerned and interested in participating in our movement in the very beginning stage just would gather and share their concerns in a way that wasn't necessarily organized but paid homage and equal time respect to anybody who wished to speak out. Past that point, we ended up starting to get organized in what's called the General Assembly, and that process is actually very complex, very equitable, horizontally based way for us to be able to address issues fairly and make decisions as a group, which is really, really fascinating to see because, of course, we have a really wide variety of issues that we're addressing, and we have many different opinions on how we should address particular issues. And this creates an open forum and an opportunity for every voice present to be able to be heard and for their point to be considered equally along with everybody else, regardless of their status in life or socioeconomic position, regardless. The fact that they're human and they're there gives them the same access to the General Assembly as anybody else. And perhaps, well, we could discuss about how a General Assembly functions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that would be pretty helpful.
Well, an agenda is formed by a facilitation team that operates in consensus as to how to begin, how to outline our General Assemblies. And at that time, there's a variety of subjects that we want to get through. So let's say, for example, today I believe we started in working group report backs?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we would start in today we started with working group report backs. And what a working group is individuals who have come together in order to address particular issues, who have more interest or just genuinely interested in a particular issue, even if they just want to learn more about that issue.
So, for instance, we have the show right now is kind of a project of the media working group, and there's an economics working group, and there's a direct action working group,
and a comfort working group,
and for the people who actually help facilitate the meetings, the facilitators have their own working group. So this is all run on a consensus basis, and anyone can get involved and really sort of make their voice heard. And I think one of the cool things about the consensus model is that it means that minority voices and marginalized voices can really sort of have their say. And the result of that has been, instead of it just being a gathering of a particular narrow ideological band of people, it's really allowed there to be a diversity of people who all agree that there's something wrong with what's going on now and like what's going on with our society, our economy, et cetera. But maybe disagree on the means to correcting it. But it's a place for them to come together and have a dialogue. So I was thinking we could show a few of the videos that you've shot from one of the earlier rallies, of a few different people speaking who are coming to the movement from different places and for different reasons, but kind of finding in it this platform from which they can be heard. So I was thinking we could show those 3 videos and then kind of discuss it further once it's done.
Wall Street and its ilk have been squeezing us with international corporate rule, and the #1 target, it seems right now in the United States, one of the people they're singling out right now is the elderly and disabled. What they forget is that we've been squeezed for years already. We've been squeezed for years. There's no more place we have for austerity. How can you get more austere than missing meals? How do you get more austere than not having a home? How do you get more austere than that? How do you get more austere than having to skip your meds that you know are vitally important? And they want to squeeze us more, all to feed Wall Street greed, and I don't want to do this anymore. That's why I'm here.
So that was one of the videos you shot of a disabled woman at one of the early Occupy rallies. So one person coming to the table from a place of, feeling that her very existence was threatened by the things that are going down in this country. What was your kind of takeaway from that particular interview?
From that interview, and it was beautiful because it was right in the beginning of our occupation movement here in Vermont, to where we were just starting to have the discussion with each other of what our concerns are and what brings us together. And that to me, I mean, she puts it in point to me is when it comes to austerity, to me what I take away from that is that I see in our society a lot of things that we're more than willing to rush to spend large amounts of money on, when a lot of the where it doesn't seem that we take human needs into consideration when, say, we can create tremendous financial opportunities for, say, war makers and corporations and banks, but the people who are most vulnerable and need it the most are being stretched really thin. And to me, that was really hurtful in our society, to see folks like that are unable to work as much as they would like, feeling like like you said, their very existence is threatened.
Mm-hmm. So there's a second person you interviewed who's sort of seems to come at it from a very different perspective, but also has a very, really, I felt like evoked the diversity of the movement in his talk. Do we want to show that video real quick?
Mic check!
Mic check!
Last week we were here.
Last week we were here.
With about 150 people.
About 150 people.
Everyone there made a commitment to go back and recruit 3 more people.
Everyone there made a commitment to go back and recruit 3 more people.
And look at how many are here now.
And look at how many are here now.
Let's make sure.
Let's make sure.
To recruit 3 more people.
To recruit 3 more people.
And make this crowd grow even larger.
And make this crowd grow even larger.
Our power.
Our power.
Lies in the fact.
Lies in the fact.
That we are not only socialists.
That we are not only socialists.
Communists.
Communists.
Anarchists.
Anarchists.
Libertarians.
Libertarians.
Democrats.
Democrats.
Capitalists.
Capitalists.
And even Republicans.
And even Republicans.
But we all know.
But we all know.
Something is deeply wrong in our democracy.
Something is deeply wrong in our democracy.
And we will no longer.
And we will no longer.
Be silent.
Be silent.
And lose our voice.
And lose our voice.
To our common enemy.
To our common enemy.
The mega corporations.
The mega corporations.
The too big to fail banks.
The too big to fail banks.
And the Federal Reserve.
And the Federal Reserve.
We are now large enough.
We are now large enough.
That we should declare an assembly.
That we should declare an assembly.
Based on the rules down in Wall Street.
Based on the rules down in Wall Street.
And occupy City Hall Park permanently.
And occupy City Hall permanently.
So that was, both a really kind of powerful evocation, I thought, of the just all of the different types of people who've been drawn to the movement, but also a little foresight into where it was going. This was a few weeks ago when people were still walking around in T-shirts. I think we have a final short video of one more person speaking at, I think it was even that same rally, who kind of brings in the connection of like all of the different movements that are kind of plugging into the Occupy movement. So I think his name is Joe, and so we'll from 350.org. So we'll see that little piece, and then we'll talk about kind of the next step that was taken after these consecutive growing rallies.
My name's Joe.
My name's Joe.
I'm standing here. I'm with 350 Vermont.
I'm with 350 Vermont.
The environmental movement has the back of this movement.
The environmental movement has the back of this movement.
Because we know.
Because we know.
That even though the climate crisis. It's one of the biggest crises our planet faces.
It's one of the biggest crises our planet faces.
It's not just caused by extra carbon.
It's not just caused by extra carbon.
It's caused by corruption.
It's caused by corruption.
It's caused by greed.
It's caused by greed.
It's caused by these systems.
It's caused by the systems.
These banks.
And
these polluters. That have polluted our democracy. When we move beyond. Money pollution. We can deal with. Real pollution. Thank you.
So as I mentioned briefly before, the video before that one kind of brought up this idea of moving into an encampment, and that was really the next step that the movement took. So do you want to talk a little bit about sort of your perception, again being there, videotaping everything, of the kind of decision that led to there being an Occupy Burlington?
Well, through the process of having general assemblies and through the process of coming together and getting to know each other, it was evident amongst everybody involved that we were forming a sense of community that was much bigger than just a protest or just about being against something. We were a movement that was starting to be for something. And when we quickly saw, and in solidarity with the other occupations taking place around the country and around the world, that we also had an opportunity, if not perhaps an obligation, for us to make sure that our voices were heard, and we had an area to gather in order to reinforce and continue to build this community. And the natural place for that was where our little movement started, was right in City Hall Park. So it was a very easy transition for our group to accept the responsibility for starting an encampment. At that point, there was a lot of enthusiasm. And
so the encampment the General Assembly approved the starting the encampment on sort of a Friday at 3 o'clock. And I think shortly thereafter, you shot a video that kind of covered just went around and kind of gave a sense of what that camp looked like as it was established and growing. So I think we can show that video to get a sense of what this thing was that was established, and then when we come back from that, we can sort of discuss the growth of that phase of the movement.
Tell me your name again.
I'm Ben.
Yeah, it's about 2 blocks from Wall Street. It's called Zuccotti Park.
Is it a private park?
It's a private park.
Well, you got this tent?
Big building, Brookfield Company.
We got so much support, it was overwhelming.
Hey, man, you better believe it. Yeah, we got a photo op, the whole thing.
But I'm going to use that mingling thing as an excuse.
Anybody over there? Yeah, couple of people came by.
Was Big Matt there with the credit union sign? Okay. So he'll be back.
Occupy Vermont hashtag. Look, there's too many of them.
Yeah, I know, right?
So that was just kind of a brief kind of walking tour of the early setup phase of the encampment. So I was thinking maybe we can talk a little bit about how things developed sort of after that point.
Well, the encampment quickly grew. That was just the opening salvo of our encampment, and soon many more tents came, many more supplies came of food, and we were able to have blankets and clothing and things to keep folks warm, and also things to give away to folks in our community that weren't able or were in need of things that we were able to provide for them, such as food and clothing, and also in some cases tents and blankets. And we had people come to us that had no shelter, had no food, and had no real possibility of knowing where to find any of that, to where that we welcomed openly into our community. And it was really to me, it was really a joyful part of what we did, is that we were able to share what we had with anybody that chose to join us.
Mm-hmm. I actually had one experience. One of the kind of roles that was in the camp that was very important and took up a lot of people's time, a lot of people's energy, was the safety committee or safety working group, which was met every evening at 9:30 to put together sort of a patrol that would have a constant presence of people who were awake, just making sure things were safe at the camp, making sure that there was someone there to see if a tent was being rifled through, or if someone intoxicated or sort of with mental illness issues came into the camp, that there'd be someone to be able to kind of take responsibility for that. And I remember I did a lot of these shifts at like 4 to 6 in the morning, and I remember one of them in particular was this. It was a rainy, kind of sleety, cold night. This car pulled up, and this guy got out of the car and he was like, I have nowhere. My girlfriend and I have nowhere to stay tonight. Like, we heard that there might be a place here. And the guy had been kind of like looking around sort of nervously, and I just walked over, and it was just an amazing experience where instead of being like, oh, we've got to defend, it's like, oh, there's an open tent right here, there's a sleeping bag right here, and so it's like, this guy and his girlfriend didn't have to sleep in the car for the evening. And it was this, that was just one example of this many, many moments in this encampment where we sort of took needs that were otherwise being unmet by the systems around us, and were able to sort of reach out and kind of meet those needs with a public space.
There's nothing more satisfying for me. I mean, we're involved in this movement, and we're involved in trying to get out a political message, and there's many different aspects to what we do, but at the base of what we do is really trying to care for one another, be it on the macro or the micro scale. So it was beautiful to be able to address these global issues at the same time of offering a bowl of hot soup and a blanket if that's what someone needed.
Mm-hmm. Although, that's not to discount, like this also became a space for a hub of a lot of education and activism and things like that. Like, I know I was personally involved in a number of teach-ins, kind of open forums on everything from food sovereignty during the farmers market to Vermont independence, to I facilitated one on kind of the credit union movement and sort of credit unions on bank transfer day. Were there any sort of things that really stuck out for you as particular kind of like moments that this space really spurred activism, spurred kind of organization?
Those are all really good examples. To me, what it seemed like it was becoming in our public space, to me it felt like an open university. Mm-hmm. It felt like a place of learning. It felt like a place where, but also where people could come with knowledgeable people could come with a message to share, and they would find a receptive audience that would want to listen to what they said and work on what they said. And especially like you're talking about, well, the things that stood out to me is, although we are in an international and national movement, there's so many issues that we need to address in our own community. Really, first, you know, it starts at home. Before we even look at the big picture, I think there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of solutions that we have in our own communities to address these big picture issues, is what I'm trying to say. Where one thing that was exciting for me, of having participated in various protests and demonstrations over the years, where it seemed to me that a lot of what had happened previous was people gathering together that shared discontent with a particular issue, but weren't necessarily addressing how to fix a lot of those issues. So one thing that really stands out to me is in our protest and education of each other about banks and bad banking processes that were in large part led to the financial situation that we find ourselves in, that, for example, a lot of the work you were doing I found very interesting. So rather than just complaining about big banks, we have a viable alternative of what we can do as citizens, as individuals, to be able to actually do something about those banks, such as moving your money to credit unions. And that, to me, stood out in addition to other issues like food sovereignty and a number of other issues, but actually finding workable solutions that actually make a concrete difference, and where almost any individual can act on them. The empowerment of the individual to be able to, in their small way, make a change on a global problem. That, to me, is one of the most exciting. That type of thinking is what I find very exciting, of taking individual responsibility and learning how we can affect the bigger picture.
And I think simply the presence of these spaces just sparked all sorts of conversations, whether you're talking about Burlington, whether you're talking about Boston and New York, all across the country. These sparking these conversations and these ideas about what is possible, what are effective actions that can be taken, and when someone hits upon something that's an effective thing or a useful thing that people can really engage with, it seems to it spreads through these networks of communication that this movement has created. So even as silly as, I wish we had brought the video up now that I think of it, but maybe for next week. But there's a guy who made a short video that was essentially, a how-to for taking the postage prepaid envelopes that banks send with credit card offers, and how to make them as expensive as possible to send back. So not simply, if you're lazy but still want to do it, just like seal it. If not, we want to make it a little more heavy, so they have to pay a little bit more. Stuff it with with all the other junk mail you've received. If you want to be a real jerk about it, put something stiff, because stiff mail is more expensive than floppy mail, I guess. And just sort of like that simple idea just spread, because people are like, oh, that's doable. Well, that's something we can do. On top of it being
doable, like just using that particular thing as an example, by sending back the junk mail in the prepaid envelopes that the credit card companies send us, it gives us an opportunity to really exchange with them and show our discontent for their methods and also their junk mail. So it's actually a way possibly to open up a line of communication. Like me, I write Occupy Wall Street on the garbage mail that they send me, and then I take any other garbage mail that might be around until the envelope can barely bend, and then lick it and send it back. So for me, that serves many purposes. For one, it's an open line of perhaps one way, but a way of expressing your thoughts with the bank. Another is we're in a situation where a lot of people are concerned about the plight of the postal workers. Well, it's us just doing our little bit to be able to support the Postal Service and the Postal Service workers, actually at the expense of the banks. So that's a win-win. And on top of it, I have a giggling fit every time I stuff an envelope and with the junk mail to send back to them. To me, it's just fun. And every once in a while in the movement, you also have to have fun, and that's a fun thing to do. So it's on so many fronts. It seems like a very light thing, but in our movement, we also we need creative things like this. And that's a beautiful example of one.
Yeah, and I think that like as things continue, you know, and as this movement continues to grow and gain traction around the country, you know, more of these ideas that allow people to be engaged and involved will just sort of organically bubble up, and we'll hear about them, and it's very exciting.
The point you were making was also how ideas will be introduced, and then some catch on like wildfire, other don't. So through kind of voluntary cooperation in what somebody finds exciting and interesting, that's what promotes the growth, not necessarily like leadership or an agenda or something people have to do, but people are just encouraged to check out, and if they wish to, they carry it on. That's how some things can grow and some things don't.
So, you know, the movement, you know, it had been getting underway, you know, camping out, doing our safety meetings, having various teach-ins, activism, that sort of thing. And it really sort of hit its, I think, kind of recent crescendo when a band that had a connection to the area, Gogol Bordello, came by to essentially sort of play a few songs for the occupation. So I guess it was acoustic. I unfortunately missed it. That was the night I was out of town. But I heard, you know, something around probably 600-700 people in City Hall Park. Incredible feeling. And I think it was you shot a short video of this.
Actually, the video I have today was shot by someone else that had better access than I.
Okay.
Better sound. I shot it, but my sound was no good. There was so many people. It was like a mosh pit. It was unbelievable, the turnout that we had.
So I think we're going to show a short clip of that, or like that video, and then sort of talk about that very high point for the movement, and then go into some of the more recent stuff that's happened.
If you would like to donate your time or finances to this meeting, please visit our info tent or our General Assembly. Also, a wonderful way you can get involved is to come to our General Assembly. There will be one tomorrow at 6 p.m. in City Hall Park. And also one on Sunday at 2 p.m. Fight the power. We are the 99%.
What's up, Burlington and Onion? My friend is a boss over here, I heard. It's a joke. Boss called me and I showed up. It's time to punch in, you know? Anyway, let's support this good thing, yo, everybody! Back in the day, your hustle earner, that was not considered to be. Considered to be.
So that was quite an experience just for the whole community. You know, brought a lot of people down, made a lot of people aware of what was going on. Just from what I've heard of that event, just intense.
That was so fun. We had so many people came down, and so many of them were big fans of Gogol Bordello. They knew the words and were just rising and falling on every sound they made. And so for me, it was just really fun to see the enthusiasm, and also finding a way that we could reach out to a greater community through a musical event was able to draw in more people than a lot of our other events. So for me, on that level also, it was very exciting to just see the level of participation from the community, and that we were able to show them a good time.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun.
So you know, we kind of, the movement went from kind of like this incredible high point there to the following day, like tragedy, sort of a very kind of like nadir low point. And so there's a really, I think, well put together video that kind of does a timeline of kind of what's happening. You know, this has been talked about in the Burlington media a lot, actually national media even, and really sort of in many ways distorted, or it's been used politically in all different directions. And so I was thinking it might be a good idea to sort of show that video. It's somewhat long, but it'll leave us with a few minutes at the end of the show to kind of discuss what happened, sort of what's been going on since then, and a few upcoming movement events as we sort of continue on the next steps of the movement. So without further ado, we'll show that video and kind of finish up afterwards.
A little bit after 2 o'clock this afternoon, we received 911 calls of discharge of a firearm here in City Hall Park, right behind me. And the information I can share with you right now is that we're investigating a matter where an individual received a gunshot wound. That individual is a 35-year-old male from the area. We're unsure as to his specific address at the moment. He's receiving treatment at the hospital. The condition is grave.
Sir, I gotta shoot it, whether we use it or not. Well, that's not your decision, sir.
You remove him out of the scene? Get out of here.
I'm at the Burlington Free Press.
That's fine. This is a crime scene. This is a crime scene.
Okay.
You can put the story in crime scene. Step back.
People hovering all over the place.
Step back.
Get your hands off me, please.
I'll take care of this.
I don't need that, sir.
Understood.
Right.
Mic check. Mic check. We have, I believe, the mayor here.
We have
that is going to address us. And I would say that we all listen to what he has to say before we do our General Assembly.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Is that a proposal?
Is that a proposal?
To postpone the GA?
To postpone the GA.
So that the mayor can speak to us?
So that the mayor can speak to us.
How do people feel about that proposal?
How do people feel about that proposal?
Does anybody block?
Who feels mad about that proposal? Who feels bad about that proposal?
Speak up.
Dear people, do we have any serious objections to that proposal?
Just go.
Hey guys, what if we all came down here?
Thank you. So I'm Bob Kiss, the mayor of the city of Burlington. I want to acknowledge that a tragedy occurred here today. It's not so much my speech here that I want to have. I want to introduce Mike Sherling, the chief of police of the city of Burlington, and I think he has a message that's critical for everyone here to hear. And so, Mike, I'm not sure where you are right now.
Way back here. You want me to come up there?
Yes, that'd be great.
Mic check.
Mic check.
We agreed.
We agreed.
To postpone the GA meeting.
Postpone the GA meeting.
Hear the mayor speak.
Hear the mayor speak.
Not the chief of police.
Not the chief of police.
Is there a proposal?
Is there a proposal?
To postpone the GA meeting.
To postpone the GA meeting.
To hear the chief of police speak.
To hear the chief of police speak.
I propose. That people who want to speak.
That people who want to speak.
To the GA meeting.
To the GA meeting.
Should get on the stack.
Should get on the stack.
And respect the facilitators.
And respect the facilitators.
And everyone else.
And everyone else. Yep.
I block.
Block. We have a block.
Yeah.
No.
The proposal is to make them stay on the stack.
We have a block.
We have many blocks. Emily has a block. I have a block.
Do you withdraw the proposal?
I have a block.
Well, folks,
Sir, you can.
I understand the process. The message at this point actually is just an invitation. A tragedy has occurred here in the park. The police department has a very complex job to do. We can confirm at this stage that the person who received a gunshot wound has passed away. As a result of that, we have an unattended or suspicious death that needs to be investigated. And as a result, we have to make some modifications to the way the park is set up temporarily. We would like to discuss this with you at 6 o'clock in conference room 12. Preliminary indication, as most of you know, is that this is a self-inflicted wound. They don't always turn out that way. That's just a preliminary indication. So we need to be sure that that's the case. And as a result, we need to do things as though that weren't the case until we're able to eliminate all other possibilities.
So I want to express one fear I have, and that is that in Madison, Wisconsin, in the occupation at the beginning of the year, the excuse used by the police is that they were necessarily needed to kick everyone out in order to clean the building. They said it wasn't about kicking out the occupation, it wasn't about ending the movement. When they finally succeeded in pushing everyone out of the building, they immediately implemented new rules and kept everyone from coming out. It was clear in regards to the attempted cleaning of Zuccotti Park that it was mandated by the state. They needed to do it because of laws, because of other regulations, and at the same time, they were implementing new rules trying to inhibit people from expressing and partaking in this new social movement. Ultimately, they failed in kicking people out of the park because of strong response. I'm wondering what reassurance we have, if any, that this isn't the same thing. The state and Burlington isn't simply using this as an excuse to move people out of the park to then retake control and to put a stopping block in this social movement and in this uprising in Burlington.
That's a valid question. What I can tell you is, what I heard in there were a couple of things. One, is the city going to try to implement new rules? There have been no discussions at any level since this began about any new rules. The question for us at hand, though, is candidly, can we assure safety in the space if the tents continue to exist? And I don't know the answer to that question yet, but I think we are leaning toward the answer that is, we don't know what's happening in the tents, and you don't know what's happening in the tents, and we can't assure that you're safe in there as they exist today. And we bear the burden of that as a law enforcement agency.
Mic check. Mic check. Are we being pushed out of the camp as we speak while our backs are to the camp?
Are we being pushed out of the camp as we speak while our backs are to the camp?
If I may. Yes. As I indicated, folks, I can't tell you exactly what's going on right this second, but no one's going to...
Okay, let's go. Meeting adjourned.
No.
Who's camp? Our camp. Who's camp?
is closed. Everybody must leave.
Fight back!
Arrested.
Fight back!
This is fine. United will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated.
Mike check! Mike check!
I thought that we were having a dialogue in there.
I thought that we were having a dialogue in there.
It seems I've been mistaken.
It seems I've been mistaken.
Because while we're in there,
Oh, you're in there.
trying to speak, the entire Burlington PD shows up.
The entire Burlington PD shows up.
I don't really know what this is about.
I don't really know what this is about.
We've already expressed
that
we are willing to work with you.
That we are willing to work with you.
They're just taking down the tape, he said.
No, they said the park is closed.
No, they're taping up the whole fucking park.
Folks,
Mike check!
the conversation's still being had.
Yes, exactly.
Fucking loading up the tear gas, huh, guys? Here we go, Oakland style, huh?
They were leaving the park closed. I was clear about the future of how the Occupy Burlington, what will be allowed to happen. However, things definitely escalate here. We'll continue to follow and bring you more updates.
Listen, we're gonna go and we're gonna take Haley in a goodwill gesture. Please give me my little darling.
Yes.
She's the nicest young lady you're ever gonna meet. And let her go on the north side of the fountain. And I'm giving my freaking word on it, people, okay?
I'll stay here with
Please,
Haley.
guys.
I don't know why Haley is being held up by the police.
Find out.
She doesn't know either. Nor do any of the witnesses.
We saw her there.
Nobody knows why she's being held.
Why are you gentlemen holding Haley?
We're gonna have a problem.
With Haley.
We'll stay with Haley.
Oh, wonderful. We can have one friend stay with Haley.
Well, we're all staying with Haley. Give us Haley! Give us Haley! Give us Haley!
Why should
Give
she be
us
arrested?
Haley!
If you
Give us Haley! Give us Haley!
should be arrested.
Give us Haley!
What's the reason?
Give us Haley!
Should be arrested.
Give us Haley!
Why are you
Give
arrested?
us Haley!
Why
Give us Haley!
her?
Give us Haley!
Who are you?
Give us Haley! 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 Give us Haley!
I ran out.
Give us Haley! Give us Haley! United will never be defeated! The people united will never be defeated! Will never be defeated! The people united will never be defeated! The people
hear the conversation on where
will never be defeated! The people united
So what's
will
the,
never
what
be
is the part of their deal?
defeated! The people united will never be defeated! The people united!
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I just,
We don't want to come in your zone.
it's all good. Thank you for working with us, sir.
Don't go back in there. Fucking bullshit. That's fucking bullshit. We'll come back tomorrow.
We'll come back tomorrow.
Fucking leaving.
We're not fucking leaving.
Mike check. I knew Josh. For the last 4 weeks now. He came here to us. Because he really liked the movement. And he expressed many times. With actions. Not a lot of words. He helped us on our security patrols. And he was watching our backs. And he gave me a lot of like inside information.
And he gave me a lot of inside information.
Just about the community that we share this park with.
Just about the community we share this park with.
Who are a bunch of people that don't have any homes.
Who are a bunch of people who don't have any homes.
And I personally am going to remember Josh.
I'm going to remember Josh.
And all of you.
And all of you.
For the sense of what we can all accomplish together.
Of what we can all accomplish together.
So, definitely a heavy video. I felt like really gets the chronology astonishingly well for having been produced so quickly. But that I think was pretty. It happened a few days ago and was a pretty defining, intense moment for the movement. So, do you want to go over a little bit about kind of the fallout, what's happened since?
Well, there was several tragedies happened that day. For one, what happened to Josh, who was becoming a friend, and like Brad says in the video, helped us every step of the way. He was the guy who could wake up at any time in the morning to help with safety, and he was a really valued, sweet member of our community that we're going to miss. So there was that tragedy, and then there was the tragedy of how this event was actually used as ammunition against our movement. And that was really difficult to see the response that the police had, and also the response that the media had was really disappointing to me, because they spoke about things like a gun in the camp and spoke about some of the problems we faced, but never once did I see in any of the media them talking about the reasons that brought us together, in the sense of a community that we were forming. And from that time on, we respected the fact that there was an investigation going on by the police, and we respected the fact that there was had to secure the crime scene until they had processed and the evidence they had and finished their procedure. But again, another disappointment was to see that tragedy used as an excuse to keep us out of the park. And long after the investigation was over, the tape was kept up, still with the threat of felony charges if we crossed the tape, even though that the crime scene had long ago been processed. So it was difficult to see a tragedy turned into a political response in order to try to suppress our movement.
And it definitely has had, over the past few days, there's been a lot of discussion, a lot of sort of trying to work through what happened, between vigils about Josh's, for Josh's passing, kind of assemblies and meetings. And a lot of people have been very, I think, myself included, very sort of struggling with the, emotional burden of what happened, and struggling between that and the responsibility to sort of keep the flame alive and keep the movement going. And so there's been, today at the General Assembly, there is the sort of recognition that the city is given until Monday to break down tents. I think there's a lot of conversations about next steps, but I think everyone from I've talked to is committed to this, the sense that, we've formed this powerful community, that has strength, that can mobilize people, it can, the number of friends and new friends I've met through the movement has been, in the past few weeks, has been just utterly mind-blowing. So, in many ways, I think there's going to be a lot of talk of like moving forward, new events, new ways of teaching each other things, new ways of coming together. So really thinking about that. I know there's a few things just to, Tuesday there's going to be kind of a free show, if you're free 21 plus, but kind of benefit show for the Occupy movement at Nectar's. They'll be featuring a lot of people, including Chia, who is kind of one of the really key people in the safety working groups, kind of providing music to the community as a chance to get together in a more fun atmosphere after kind of the heavy events of the past week. And there's then a rally also happening on, Thursday the 17th at the post office at 5:15. The Labor Solidarity Working Group has been putting together with a speak out at 6 p.m. at Edmonds Middle School. I don't know if you know of any other events planned for the near future.
Well, besides what will be on the website and the few things that you mentioned, what I have seen is the growth of new ideas today that weren't quite finalized or planned yet, but seeing where there's still a lot of enthusiasm for beginning new projects that in no way the shutting down of this encampment would affect either way, such as a community potluck dinner that my daughter is starting to spearhead, that we don't have formalized as to when the date is, but I think it's another example of a wonderful opportunity for our community to come together.
Yeah. No, and for people who, if they want to get involved, there's a number of places online to sort of plug in and get a sense of what the latest things are coming out of the Occupy movement locally. There's a wiki that's at www.owsvt.wikispaces.com. And that's kind of a community, you can see the address on your screen. It's a community-run website that has information on all the different projects going on. There's also a presence on Facebook. Basically, if you search for, just type in Occupy Vermont, there's Facebook page and Facebook group, and then also Tyler has been running a website that's had a lot of his videos and a lot of other things mentioned on, including links to a Google Calendar that has a lot of movement events. That is just occupyvermont.wordpress.com. So check out any of those resources if you're interested in this movement, interested in getting involved, learning more, meeting the people. There's so many interesting people who have kind of flowed into this nexus of what a friend of mine, I think, described in wonderful terminology as, it's a gathering of the mindfully discontent, If you feel like there's something wrong and either you think you know what it is, you want to share. If you don't know what it is, you want to hear what other people think about it. This is the place to converge. So we've got only a few more seconds left to the show. We're hoping to do more of these in coming weeks, sort of bringing the latest updates from the Occupy movement in Vermont and perhaps around the world. So Tyler, do you have any last words before we're finished?
Sure, I do. I especially want to say the power of our movement is in our working groups. And regardless of what your issue is, be it environmental or healthcare related, or there's numerous issues, we really invite you to get together in our working groups and get with like-minded people and join us.
Yes, and with that, good night.